Okay, so here is the second part of my video, as promised, about positives and negatives of living in China. Like I mentioned in the intro to the first video, I'll be going over some of the positives and the negative sides of the same topic, if that makes any sense. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so in my positives video I mentioned food, and food is a great reason to come to China. Like I mentioned, if you're a foodie, you're really into your food, you like trying different foods, strange foods, stuff like that, there's no end of that in China. The negatives with the food in China is it can be hygiene anyway. When you go to a restaurant, you're not always entirely sure how fresh is your food, how clean is your food, how well prepared is your food. You just have to walk down a normal street, even in Shanghai, and you'll see people preparing food on the street, like not when I say on the street, I don't mean on a nice clean table on the street. They might be sitting on the floor with the food on the floor. They'll be chopping vegetables on the floor with the vegetables on the actual pavement, on the dirty pavement right outside their restaurant, and that's just a normal thing. Or they'll be cutting meat on the floor. Somebody shared a picture on WeChat a while back in Shanghai of somebody with vegetables on top of a bin, a trash bin, like on top of the bin, and they were cutting the vegetables on the bin, and they're this person, and I was like, wow, that looks delicious, or something like that. Anyway, I don't know. But yeah, obviously there's also the scandals a while back of, not a scandal, but it's just a thing that happens of people taking oil. They call it gutter oil, taking oil out of the gutters, out of the sewage sort of thing. Makes you feel ill just talking about it. But yeah, people who own small restaurants, they will scoop the oil out of the gutter that people have used before and take it back to their restaurant and use it to cook up food. It's like outrageous, really. Yeah, oil isn't massively expensive, but people cut corners that much to save money. I've had it a few times where I've gone to a restaurant that I've been to before and I've had no problems and the food was okay, and then you order something and then you get pretty ill for the next couple of days. And chances are the reason is because that food is not properly stored. You know, maybe they make a huge sort of wok of rice and vegetables, and then they will keep it there for 1 week. They won't put it in refrigeration or do anything to store it properly. That will just stay on top of their stove. You know, they might cover it or they might not overnight, and then the next day when somebody orders it, they'll just turn the wok on, give it a mix, and then serve it up to you. You know, food hygiene is a bit of a lottery out here. You never really know how healthy your food is. Yeah, so that is mainly just no, I wouldn't necessarily say, you know, even bigger restaurants, you never know what you're gonna get, and it's a bit annoying. To be honest, I don't eat out much anymore. We eat a lot at home just to save money and because we like to cook anyway, so we like to make our own foods. But you know, when I first arrived here, I used to eat out a lot, and yeah, that can be an issue. So yeah, food is a double-edged sword in China. Okay, so kind of on the same topic of food again, not as much the hygiene. This is a different aspect of the topic of food. So say you've been living in China for a while, you know, you've been getting stuck into dumplings and baozi and all these crazy Chinese foods that you've never seen before, and it's all delicious and lovely, and after a year or so you're just craving some home comforts, some nice Western foods that you're familiar with. And so what do you do? Well, you can go to McDonald's or KFC or Pizza Hut, but they're not really home comforts, they're just fast food. So you need to go somewhere to buy some ingredients to make some foods that you like, make some Western foods. So chances are you're going to have to go to the supermarket, one of the Western supermarkets anyway. So they have Carrefour out here, they have Tesco's, they have Metro. I'm not sure, I've never seen a Walmart, but people say they had Walmart, and then some people say Walmart failed out here. Marks and Spencer's have just failed out here. I think they're going to be leaving China soon, or yeah. So you need to go to these Western supermarkets, or even if you just want a cup of tea, I'm English, I drink tea a lot, so I need tea bags. So I go to the supermarket, and if I buy a small box like this of 25 tea bags, it's going to cost me about 50 RMB, about £5 for a tiny little box of 25 tea bags, English breakfast tea bags. Whereas in England, for £5, I could get a huge bag of tea bags, with my hands, like a huge bag of tea bags, like 1,000 tea bags for £5. But it would cost me £5 for 25 tea bags here. So yeah, shopping can get expensive. If you're looking for some nicer food, you don't want to go to the little vegetable markets. You want to go to get some imported food. Imported food is ridiculously expensive out here. Cereal, a box of cereal, you can get cornflakes out here, it's going to cost you a lot of money. What else is there? Yeah, all imported products is definitely a negative of living in China, having to buy them. But the thing is, there's not really Chinese equivalents of these imported products that you can buy at cheaper prices. So you have to splash out, like if you want some good beef, you can only get good beef in Metro supermarket, and it costs you about £5. Cheese you can only get in the big cities, I've heard, like Shanghai, Beijing, Shenzhen. You have to go to the Western supermarkets, and even in Shanghai it's ridiculously expensive just to buy cheese and butter. The milk's not great. So yeah, I've just when I go back to England, I stuff my suitcases with Cadbury's chocolate and biscuits and tea bags and all sorts of salad cream, stuff that I cannot buy in China, just to get me through into the next year when I go back to England or when my parents come out here. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, staying on the topic of Western supermarkets out here, they're not up to the same standard. Like a Carrefour or a Tesco in Shanghai isn't the same as a Carrefour or a Tesco in England. I was really shocked. Like the first time I went to a Carrefour in Shanghai, I went to the fruit and vegetable section, and there were insects all over, like cockroaches, in the apples in Carrefour, and I was like, what? How can this happen in a Tesco or a Carrefour? And it's just not the same, I'm sure if the Carrefour executives or whatever knew about it, they'll be going crazy. But yeah, even Western supermarkets out here, they're not the same standard of hygiene and that. They are better than the Chinese ones, but they're still not as good. So yeah, that's another bit of the food double-edged sword. Okay, so another negative about living in China. This is only something you'll probably notice if you live here for quite a while. I mean, I only noticed it after a while. When you first arrive here, this next topic, it's you don't notice it, but then when you're sort of settled in and all the sort of the rose-tinted glasses of this whole social experience has sort of disappeared, then this thing really bugs me. It's customer service in China. So for an example, you walk into a shop, even say like a Western shop like Adidas. Say you want to buy a T-shirt from Adidas, and you walk into a shop and you're just browsing the T-shirts, and then you notice all the staff there. They're all kind of I've had it before. Like in China, they should come up to you and say, what do you want? Blah blah blah. Can I help you? But because you're a foreigner, they will kind of say there's two young members of staff there. They'll be going, "Oh no, you go talk to him. I don't want to talk to the foreigner, or I'm scared to talk to the foreigner." Blah 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 blah, and it's really kind of annoying because they're doing it right in front of you, and when they should be serving you because they're customer service, they're arguing about sort of like they're just kind of showing off to each other, and it's really kind of maybe it's just me, it just gets to me, it really annoys me. Like, not that I need any help choosing a t-shirt, it's probably quite hypocritical of me. I'd rather they didn't talk to me, I'd rather they just left me alone and I can choose a t-shirt on my own. I don't need them to, because yeah, although some of them don't do that, they won't sort of argue about serving you with their friend. They won't say, "Oh, you go serve him." No, you go serve him, which they do right in front of you, like in the corner. Then they'll start laughing and joking about you and stuff like that, and that's really annoying. Like, it's not polite in any way. But if they do come and serve you, then they'll just follow you around the shop, not saying anything, just follow you around the shop. Like, you'll be standing there looking at t-shirts, and there'll be somebody right here, right next to you, just looking at what you're doing. Like, when you're looking for the t-shirts, and you're just like, just leave me alone. I don't need you to stand there. You're not talking to me, you're not helping me, you're just standing there looking at what I'm doing. And it's really annoying. Like, it's not rude, but I don't know why they do it, I don't know if they do that to Chinese people. I've never really seen them do that to Chinese people, but that really puts me off. Yeah. Customer service also in restaurants is terrible, generally. You walk into a restaurants and businesses in China seem to be massively overstaffed. Like, you can walk into a small restaurant and there'll be 20 young people working there, but none of them are doing anything. The restaurant will be completely empty, and they will just be standing on the corner on their phones, doing nothing basically. Or when you walk in, they'll all shout, "Welcome to our restaurant," at the same time, and then nothing, then just back to their phones. And then you'll sit down at the restaurant, and then nobody will come and serve you. There'll be 20, 30 people standing in the corner looking at their phones. And then you have to say, "Yeah, come and serve me, please." Then they'll come over, some guy will come over, looking at his phone, and you'll say, "Yeah, I want this." And he's like, "Yeah, okay, well, I'm just looking at my phone at the moment." And you say, "Yeah, it's really annoying, it's terrible. It wouldn't be good." No, like, I just wonder where the managers are. Like, if the managers can see this happening. Like, if I had a restaurant and my staff were treating my customers like that, I would be really annoyed. Really annoyed. So yeah, customer service in China is one thing that really, really annoys me. Yeah, okay. Okay, so sort of staying on the, well, let's talk about hygiene in general life. So yeah, China's, you walk down the streets, especially in like central Shanghai, there's always sort of people cleaning the streets and stuff like that, which is great. It's not that bad. It's not like trash piles everywhere and garbage piles everywhere. It's really not that dirty in that sense. You never see any rats or anything like that. I don't think I've ever seen a rat in Shanghai. No, I don't think I have, no. But things that do bother you about hygiene is, one major thing I've heard lots of other vloggers talk about is spitting, which, yeah, really, I don't like, obviously. It's not very nice. But it happens everywhere, all the time in China. It's just like it's ingrained in their souls. Like, it's the rite of passage to being a Chinese person, that you can just spit anywhere, everywhere you want, and it's just nobody does anything. So yeah, my old apartment, the one we lived before, is older than this building, and there was a lot of old people living there, like 60-year-olds plus, and it was just, they were everywhere, just like walking around all day, all night, just outside my apartment, and all you can just hear is just people like spitting and shouting and blah 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 all days, and then just like spitting, and it's just nasty, it's just horrible, and you never get used to it, and you just want to ask them, like, why are you doing it? Do you have a medical condition that you need to do that? Is it cool for your generation? Is that the thing to do? Like, I don't really understand it. And it's like, the louder you can spit and the more disgusting you can spit, then the more points you get, maybe? I don't know, but it's yeah, it doesn't really make any sense to me, and I don't like it. But there's nothing you can do, you know. If you're going to live in China, I've heard they do it in South Korea too, then you have to deal with it. And it's not just on the street. You go into a toilet and you can see where somebody's been sitting on the toilet and then spitting between their legs. Like, why? Why would you do it? Why would you want to spit on the floor where you've got to go to the toilet? It just doesn't make any sense. And yeah, I work my school is in a big building. There's lots of offices above the school, and then below there's like some cafes and stuff like that. It's about 30 floors. There's lots of people in the building, and so if I want to go to the toilet, because the toilets are so, on my floor is quite busy, so there's like 3 schools on my floor, so there's always lots of grandparents taking the kids to the schools and stuff like that, and so the toilets are just full of kids peeing all over the floor, grandparents spitting all over the floor. So yeah, I try and avoid that, so I will I'll go up to the higher floors. I'll take the elevator to the higher floors where they just have businesses there. You know, young professional types, they're not really into the spitting as much, and so the toilets are generally a lot cleaner. They're a lot less busy. You know, the toilets on my floor, they stink, they're dirty, there's spit, there's people, you walk into the toilet and there's a couple of guys standing there smoking, spitting, generally being quite disgusting. So yeah, I always go to the higher floors and have some peace and quiet and hygiene, have some nice clean toilets to use. So yeah, and then like you're walking back down the stairs and there'll be a guy sitting on the stairs smoking. This is right next to the school, and he'll spit on the floor where everybody has to walk. Like no consideration for anybody else. Or maybe he will go, you know, he's spitting all over the floor, and maybe he will go to the school, get his granddaughter, then he'll come out and then his granddaughter will be walking in his spit. Like, he doesn't think like that. I don't know, but yeah. So yeah, cleanliness of toilets and public areas are not great. You know, you'll see people, a thing to do is, if you're out with your child and they need to go to the toilet, if there's a toilet right in front of you, 10 meters in front of you, then you don't go to the toilet, you just pull the child's trousers down in the middle of the street or to the side, and they will go to the toilet there in public in front of everybody. That's fine, there's not a problem. And again, you just want to say, look, there's a toilet just here, just go to the toilet. That's fine. Nobody wants to see your child going to the toilet in public. You know, there's been pictures on social media of people going to the toilet and letting their kids, or even adults, going to the toilet on trains in Shanghai, and just nobody does anything. Nobody says, you probably shouldn't do that. Probably not very nice for everybody else if you go to the toilet or your child goes to the toilet on the train. Yeah, so, but that's all over media. Everyone sort of knows all that stuff, but yeah, it does get to you when you live here. trying to think, is there anything else I need to say about sort of hygiene, spitting, and going to the toilet in public? You know, don't know how much you can say about that stuff, but yeah, it's great. Okay. Another thing, sort of goes hand in hand with the bad social faux pas of living in China, is noise. You know, where I live in England, sort of not countryside, but it's close to the countryside. I can get to the countryside in 5 minutes by foot, and you know, walk on a huge open green area, and it's very nice and very relaxing. But there's none of that in China, especially Shanghai. I mean, China's such a huge country. There's tons of beautiful countryside, but if you're living in a big city or any city, it's just you're not going to see nature for all the time that you're here until you basically go back to your home, which is what happens to me. Like, I go back to England, and then it's like, oh, nature. I could walk in a field that's bigger than 100 by 100 square meters, or 50 by 50 is like a nice open space in China, in Shanghai anyway. Even London has so much green space compared to Shanghai. Like, Shanghai is such a huge city, you'd think it would have at least one designated huge green space, but then again, people would just be spitting and pooing and peeing all over it anyway. Like, they have no respect for those sort of things, you know. Okay, so another one is noise in China. Obviously, there's no green spaces, there's no open, quiet spaces. It's just all the time, busy. Like I said, this is a double-edged sword. If you live in the countryside all your life, then it's boring, you know. But if you come to a big city and there's lots of noise and lights, and it's exciting, you know. I'm not saying all these bad things are, you know, it is just a cultural thing. But as a Westerner, these are things that can sort of get to you sometimes, like, not badly, like, I'm not sitting in my room crying about them or anything, like, but these are things that as a Westerner, especially when you first arrive in Shanghai or China, that you will notice and that you can't avoid noticing. So don't think that I'm slagging China off, because I'm not. I'm just pointing out the differences. So yeah, noise is like, just a few minutes ago, when I was editing the positives video, there were people, maybe my neighbours or something, just standing outside my door. Apparently, I don't know if they were having a conversation or maybe somebody had killed somebody or something, but they were just blah, 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 just like for like 10 minutes, and then one of them just went, ah, ha, just like, which just means, ha, good, and then just stopped. Like, I don't know what was going on, but that happens all the time, just the noise. Like, people don't have volume control on their voices. They will just talk at full volume, wherever they want, whenever they want, about anything. Even if they're just talking about the weather, they will just be yelling at each other. It sounds to Western ears, like, I remember when my mum came out to visit, she was like, it sounds like everybody's arguing with each other, like, it sounds like everybody's fighting with each other. And I was like, it's just the way they talk to each other, I think. And yeah, like, people on phones, on trains, you'll be on a busy train, rush hour, somebody's phone will go off, and they're just standing there yelling into their phones, like, blah, 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 blah. No concern for anybody else. Not that it's a major issue, you know, people do that in lots of countries, but it annoys me anyway. It doesn't annoy me, just it's kind of funny to watch, just like their complete obliviousness to other people around them. It's just kind of funny. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, noise can get pretty noisy out here. Okay, so another topic to touch on, people staring at you. You know, as a foreigner, you will get people staring at you, even in Shanghai. I know I keep saying even in Shanghai, but you do, and at first, you find it kind of funny and weird, like, why are these people staring at me? What's so special about me? And then it sort of depends what mood you're in. Like once you get to sort of know the language, then you can sort of hear people. Like every time, some people when they see a foreigner, they go, "Oh, lawa," like which means foreigner. Oh, Waigorin. Like they'll say that out loud, but when you first arrive here, you don't know those words. But when you do, then it gets annoying because you just kind of hear it everywhere. Like if you're riding your bicycle down the street and you go past a bus stop, you'll just hear somebody say that. Like every time you'll hear somebody say that. Or if you're just walking through your neighborhood and an old person's walking by you, they'll look at you and then they'll look away. And once you pass them, they'll stop and turn around and just look at you for like 3 minutes until you're sort of way off in the distance. Then they'll wait for you to pass them, and then they'll stop and look at you, and then they'll start talking about you to themselves. Like I don't get what they get out of it. I don't know, but yeah, it depends what mood you're in. If you're in a good mood, then who cares? But if you're in a bad mood, and it can annoy you, you can just be like, what's wrong with these people? Surely they've seen somebody from a different country before, and even if they have, what's the big deal? Even if they haven't, what's the big deal? Yeah, very China centric, like I mentioned before in some videos. But yeah, it's not really that big a deal. It's harmless, really. But yeah, it can be a bit annoying. So yeah, staring and comments you might hear. Okay, so yeah, that's the end for my negative videos. I'm sure I've missed some out. China's a terrible place to live. I'm just joking. I'm sure I've missed some out. There's positives and negatives about living in every country, about living in England, about living in Thailand, about living in Japan, about living in Korea. No country's perfect. But this is just because I live in China. I'm sure people interested in living in China, we wanted to hear this kind of stuff, so that's why I'm doing this. So yeah, if you, I'm not ripping on China. I did some positives. They're equally balanced, positives and negatives about living in China. There's some great things, there's some bad things. So you just gotta roll with the punches. If you're gonna live in a foreign country, then it's not always gonna be easy. Same as living in your home country, it's not always going to be easy. It's good and bad. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any, I'd like to hear some bad experiences or negatives that you think of, and positives too, about living in China. Please like, comment and subscribe. I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. So yeah, thanks for watching. Goodbye. Peace.